You for joining us today to talk a little bit more about Smashverse. Before we kind of get into exactly what Smashverse is and what you guys are trying to do, I wanted to ask, just give us a little bit about your background. Tell us a little bit about who you are, how you got started in the Web3 space, and then maybe give us a quick overview.
Cool, absolutely. I'm Jack. I'm VP of Studios for Smashverse. I'm very much from a Web 2 background, nearly 25 years making video games. Started as a 3D environment artist, doing a load of film licenses back in the day for GameCube and PS2 and whatnot. And then joined Criterion Games, Electronic Arts for nearly 16 years. Initially as an environment artist again for Burnout, but then kind of rapidly became involved in as a development director, overseeing project and feature teams for the likes of Need for Speed, closely collaborating with DICE in Stockholm and Motive in Canada and elsewhere, making Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, which is super cool, working with Lucas. And then also for Battlefield 1 and 5, and overseeing the first Battle Royale game for Battlefield there, Firestorm, which was very cool as well. Kind of 80, 90, 100-person teams around the world, outsourcing partners. Then spent the last year at Motorsport Games, working, overseeing the studios there, 7 studios around the world, lots of racing game licenses. And then, had the great opportunity to meet River and our COO Julian earlier this year, kind of learn a bit more about what Smashverse was doing, becoming, learning a heck of a lot this year about the potential and the power of Web3 and the genuine opportunity that I believe it will add to video games, not just around ownership, but a lot of the kind of really cool functionality and the innovation and some of the stuff that we're trying to do. So very excited. It's been quite the journey in the last 7 months or so, particularly after this week. Always learning, but that's exactly why I got out of the Web 2 space and into the Web 3 space, was to challenge myself and to learn from a lot of clever people, which this community clearly has.
Hey everyone, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Sorry guys, I was wrestling with push to talk.
You're fine. You still there?
Yes, I am. I'm just trying to find the right keyboard setting that doesn't make me go to like a different Discord server or like a different Chrome tab.
I love it. Yeah, no, my push to talk's always been C, and I know that that's not the best for everybody either.
We can give you a role that'll make it voice activity if that's easier. Just watch out for hot mics.
That helped, Jacob. Every time I'm trying like 4 combinations. Every time I press something else goes wrong. If that's all right.
Yeah, let me look for that. We got a lot of roles.
It's my favorite. I love it when there's a lot of roles at the dinner table. Ba-dum-bum.
Carbs are good. All right, you should have open mic roll, actually. Someone might have gave it to you already.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah, great.
Awesome, wonderful. Thanks guys. Sorry, Jack, I was interrupting. I just needed to test what was going on there. Jack, please feel free to finish off, or feel free to ask any questions relating to Jack's background beforehand.
Yeah, open for questions.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted some introductions from you both first before we kind of get to more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm River, guys. Most of you know me as the People's Degen. My background's been in tech. I spent the last 7 years building a transport tech company. Bootstrapped that from 2 to 30 employees. I exited last year. Made a bit of money, which was nice. Took a month off for the first time in my entire life. Played a lot of games during that month off. And I fell in love with gaming, all over again. I've been a gamer all my life. Grew up playing Super Smash Bros, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, etc. I knew I was gonna do something in either crypto or gaming. That was like my future. I decided after I'd exited my last business, and I discovered Axie Infinity in the summer. Fell in love with it. Thought that was the future of gaming. It was the future of crypto as well. and decided I wanted to kind of build what is Smashverse today in terms of like a kind of an open world kind of combat game using Web3 basically. So that's kind of a little bit more about my background, etc. On the team, I mainly look after marketing, community growth, a bit of art direction. We have extremely credible and experienced people on the game dev side of things. So, despite me being the founder, I'm not the game guy. I'm the kind of marketing and kind of community guy. And I think that works very well in terms of like the team setup that we've got, etc.
Awesome. I love to hear those kinds of backgrounds. Lots of video games, Jack, that I'm familiar with. Star Wars Battlefront. I've lost a lot of my time playing that game for sure. So really cool to hear your all's backgrounds. Let's maybe just give a quick overview of what exactly the project is. What is Smashverse for those who don't know?
Yeah, sure thing. You know what? I always think the best thing to do is just share your screen and show some stuff. That works a lot better than anything else, I think. And Jack, do you want to quickly kind of talk through some of this, or should I?
Yeah, I can give a quick overview and kind of like talk about some of our process too, which having joined nearly 7 months ago, the team's still very small. We still very deliberately wanted to work through a kind of AAA process. So had this really kind of exciting brief and kind of vision from River around this, as you say, open world kind of melee combat. And just we all had kind of like a love of the huge spectrum of fighting combat melee games that are out there, and particularly recognizing how in the kind of current era, the FPS is also involved in battle royale, and then the battle royale genre has kind of like a sub-fragmented just because of its sheer scale into these other kind of really cool and interesting subgenres. Like you're getting seeing games like Fall Guys, like Knockout City, like Rumbleverse. Epic understands this, EA understands this, and so kind of working through our range of what we love and our kind of combat game passions, Smash Bros. Taking some of the cool archetypes and the real individuality of some of those amazing Nintendo characters to the environments of Rumbleverse and some of that verticality and that kind of like importance traversal. And then even games like Gears of War that bring the kind of like the confrontational kind of emotive excitement of what it really means to kind of like enter into combat with someone. So we want to keep it accessible. We want to kind of innovate in what we're doing with the variety in the environments to bring a lot of the close quarters combat. And what you can see here is a kind of like early prototype, fully taking all the hopefully the amazing kind of like NFTs and the art we've been sharing on our socials for the last few weeks and months. So all game ready, all fully in Unreal, all fully rigged. We've done all the extremely hard and costly work. Particularly as I know, like generally you do all the expensive content creation like towards the middle. We're doing it right at the start, so we're making that investment. We've got that that confidence and that commitment to what we're building. So looking to kind of innovate in a number of ways around, like I said, the environment, the archetypes, what we're doing with some of the blockchain functionality, some of the idea around clans, the kind of rivalry you get with having territories and building communities. The combination of all these things, I think, is super engaging. Anything you would add, River?
Yeah, so just to kind of, I take a high level kind of approach as well. What we're essentially building is a battle royale game. We kind of see it as a next generation battle royale game. Many of us are familiar with, PUBG, Escape from Tarkov, Fortnite, etc. Right? They're first person shooter battle royale games. Smashverse is kind of melee combat kind of focused, right? So it's Fortnite meets kind of Street Fighter meets kind of Tekken kind of thing instead. So players would take part in kind of a 30-person kind of battle and essentially kind of fight to the last man standing, basically. So that's kind of like the core gameplay mechanics that we've got essentially. In terms of character archetypes, we'll have like 14. Right now you're seeing the boxing class or kind of a team are playing that right now. But we'll have like karate kind of archetypes or MMA, wrestling, and other kind of like popular kind of martial arts as well. And what you're seeing here, guys, is a networked game, right? This isn't like us playing against a CPU or us playing in the same room, right? This is like one person in Italy, another person in Netherlands, another person in the UK, basically kind of playing. We've deliberately built the game to be multiplayer from day number one, as opposed to kind of adding it on later and then it not working properly, etc.
This looks really fun. This looks really cool. I'm a huge gamer myself. Love the kind of Smash Bros. Kinds of games, and I think Battle Royale, just the whole invention of that, kind of changed things, right? Because now Nintendo even did it with Tetris, right? Tetris Battle Royale with Tetris 99. They even had a Mario kind of Battle Royale. So I love to see how that genre can be pushed in this open world kind of fighting game, like a brawling style game. It's very interesting to me. Now add that into the blockchain, and we have NFTs, right? What exactly is the NFT in this aspect? Is our character a one of one kind of NFT? What exactly are we collecting here to be able to play the game?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So all of the characters, the 15,000 Titans, for our Genesis collection are one of one game ready assets that are 3D, fully rigged, as well as PFP friendly. And I'll kind of just show you guys what we mean by that. So this here is the PFP itself. So that's, this is the 3D asset that is the same asset that's basically, running around in this game. All we've done is essentially take a picture of that asset in a custom lighting scene. So this is like our character generation tool. At the moment, this is just essentially creating our floor NFTs. This is a custom tool that we've built. What we've done is essentially take our 3D assets individually, like the hair, the face, the beard, the clothes, the shoes, even the colors of the textures, etc. And we've essentially kind of fed them through an algorithm that's essentially kind of procedurally generating each of these kind of NFTs. And during each kind of variation that occurs, essentially we're taking like a picture of it in terms of within a lighting scene, and then that picture essentially is the outcome over here. So that's kind of like the process that we went through. So, just to be clear, what we're not doing, for example, is, we've got 15K unique one of one PFPs, right? Like zombies, aliens, etc. And then when you play Smashverse, you've kind of really got like not a one of one 3D character, right? It's like it's a zombie, but all the zombies look the same and all the aliens look the same, etc. Your character in the game is a one of one, right? Like that's in our view what a real kind of blockchain game should be, and and it kind of gives you more utility to your PFP, right? It becomes a playable PFP. We call it like a PPFP in that regard. But we really did want to spend a lot of time getting the art right. Like, too many gaming projects have released kind of 3D art that's not been great and not really PFP material, or even like 2D art that's not been great. That's not PFP material either. So we've spent a lot of time to just crafting and trying to find like that, we'll aim for that perfect PFP in terms of visuals, etc. So you can see here, this is like our robot. I showed you the kind of alien as well. This is our monkey. The monkey's still going through a bit of refinement, etc. But you can just kind of see like the level of detail in the assets, etc. That that we've kind of gone through. And like we spent a lot of time and energy as well, making sure we test the art in as many scenarios as possible. So we've really kind of put a lot of emphasis of trying to make that PFP visually stunning and kind of Twitter friendly as well, right? So we've our team quite literally has tested hundreds of lighting scenes, hundreds of poses, for all of our art. You can see here, like we've been, basically deploying almost a test every couple of hours, actually, just with very, very small deep changes to the collection. But small changes are the ones that are kind of important. And these are just like probably a tenth, or maybe even a 20th of the tests that we've done, by the way. We have like several of these mirror boards where we've been doing tests, etc. So that's kind of what the PFP the NFT is. But there's also some other stuff that we've kind of deployed as well. Over here, I'll kind of can you see my screens okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So over here, what we've done with all of our NFTs is essentially combine each of them with a Twitter profile. So when you buy the NFT, you're also buying a Twitter profile at the same time. And essentially what that means is that you can tweet on behalf of your Titan, comment, shitpost, create content and distribute that content, as if you are the Titan itself. But more importantly, what happens as well is if you sell your NFT, access to that Twitter account goes to the new owner, right? So all of a sudden, like your NFT and the social profile it's built are essentially linked as like an identity. You've kind of like brought this brand to life, right? It's almost like Punk, 6529 and like some of the Bored Apes as well that kind of like made their Twitter profile their identity. And we're really excited for that as an additional utility other than just the PFP and the game ready asset. Because now this social NFT essentially kind of gives you the power to create your own following, and kind of like improve the reach of your Titan, etc. as well, and then essentially allow yourself to increase the value of your Titan. Right? We see a world where you might have two Titans. They're both kind of floor Titans, not very special, but one's got 1,000 followers, the other's got 100,000 followers. The one with 100,000 followers is worth a lot more on the market because it's got a lot more powerful reach compared to the one with 1,000 followers. And there's various other interesting kind of Web3 social impact that this kind of utility and kind of technology can offer as well, which I'm happy to obviously get into later. But yes, that's kind of the NFT as a whole, right? You've got the PFP, which I've kind of shown over here. You've got the 3D asset, which you guys have seen, which is a one-on-one inside the game. And then you've essentially got this kind of like social kind of profile, etc. as well, where you can essentially tweet on behalf of Titan. I actually didn't do a demo. I'll just say, hey, MVQ. And then if I hit tweet here, so that's tweeted here. So that's showing up on the Titan dashboard. But if I go here and I actually just hit refresh, it also shows up here on Twitter as well. Boom.
Interesting. So there's a social like media layer to it, because you literally on this you brought this up. My question was going to be, is this Twitter? And it is. It's a version of Twitter. It's like your own little wrap. I love it. So one thing I've seen on social media and just several community members from MVHQ, I believe, have gotten one, is their own kind of one of one. Granted, everything's a one of one. Are those kind of just a little bit more special than maybe the collection that's coming out, or is that just kind of an early way of whitelisting and onboarding people from other communities and kind of in the space?
So that's more of just our own kind of way of whitelisting and kind of onboarding people. We did want to do the application kind of process all the way back in summer. Valhalla and Utes did a great job of releasing that, and what we didn't want to do was kind of essentially copy them, right? Like they were first to market and they were amazing. So we wanted to do something different and special and kind of show the audience and show the world, right? Look, we're a team that likes to kind of push boundaries, test some stuff out, and do something kind of visionary, right? So what we essentially did was we had an application process where you were essentially creating your own warrior using the Midjourney AI. And what you had to do was you had to go into the Smashverse dojo and essentially, so just go into here and essentially kind of use Midjourney in writing a prompt to be able to then, create your own kind of character. And you can write anything you want, right? Like Midjourney is just amazing in visualizing and bringing kind of ideas to life. And we had a lot of great feedback around. And so then we would basically choose the warrior based on how amazing they looked and the story people crafted behind the warrior as well. And that was very deliberate because it also kind of we're looking for people that are great storytellers. We're looking for people that like to produce content, are very creative, because they're the exact same people that are going to have so much fun on Twitter and Twitch when we release the Titan dashboard. They'll be able to use their Titan to kind of create content and kind of promote their Titan and kind of like gain that following as well. So that's kind of why we kind of did that. It was no utility for those warriors, etc. Unfortunately, but hopefully people did enjoy kind of making them during the process.
Yeah, it looks super cool, and even the ones that I got to see, on Twitter, look really cool and unique as well. So, there's been a lot of Web3 games, right? And it seems like the main incentive behind playing a Web3 game up to this point has been compensation, whether it be speculation in the price of assets or it be play to earn, and several other kinds of quote unquote Ponzi-nomic kind of tokens, reasons to play the game. Can you kind of maybe explain a little bit more about like why, like is your all's focus on rewarding people who play the game, or are you guys more focused on making sure that the game is fun so people will want to play it rather than want to play it to make money?
So I'll let Jack talk about this first. I think he's got the most relevant experience when it comes to building fun games.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to absolutely say the latter there. I mean, that's exactly why River and the rest of the leadership team have invested so much in kind of traditional video game making experience, and for me to build a team that is absolutely focused 100% on a core game experience, regardless of whether you've got an NFT or any kind of stake involved, or whatever the Web3 kind of like functionality might be. So it has to be fun when you play it right off the bat. And that's not just in how we're designing the game, but it's also how we're building it. Even though we're building up to a kind of battle royale game, we're starting small. So we're starting with a really fun core experience that needs to be fun in its own right before you layer on anything else or add 40 players or create kind of like a meta game around it. So it needs to be fun right off the bat, and that's exactly what we're focused on. And that's what I'm kind of like enjoying most about this actually, is that and it kind of harks back to some of the ways I used to work and work with teams at Criterion EA, which is that even if you're playing a sports game or a racing game, it needs to be fun when you're just driving the car around the track. Before you add rivals or competitors, it needs to be fun when you're kind of running down the pitch in FIFA. Before you add teammates and all the rest of it. So yeah, absolutely laser focused on a core game that's fun.
Awesome. And because you have the background there, Jack, I'm going to spring this question on you, and I hope it's not inappropriate, and I hope it's not like a side swipe. So forgive me. You could totally tell me to fuck off if you don't want to answer this.
I think I might know what's coming.
So obviously the core gamer, the core gamers out there hate microtransactions. They hate monetization of different platforms. It seems like they are, against, EA, and all sorts of different kinds of monetization formats. I think one of those things about Web3 gaming is that, eventually that, to keep the space healthy and not just a speculation asset for people to make money off of, that we have to onboard real gamers, real people who like to play these games for fun. How do you guys hope to bridge that gap and say, hey, this isn't just some crazy capitalistic venture. This is you owning your assets in a game that you can play for maybe eventual operability and things like that. How do you guys bridge that gap and try to get that message out to the quote unquote real gamers of the world?
I mean, I'd like to kind of take that one and just to kind of like respond to the message about microtransactions. Absolutely, like particularly being part of Battlefront 2, and it got absolutely slammed for the kind of the loot box kind of fiasco, and that was deeply tough for the team to take, because we spent 2 years, 300 people, 2 years crafting, some really cool experiences, a great single player with Motive, a fantastic multiplayer experience with Dice, and then at Criterion we built the kind of Starfighter space battles experience. And that was the kind of main thing everyone picked up was the loot boxes, which other games have been doing for years. So very, very sensitive to that, and totally understand, how carefully we have to handle that. So being very clear in how we separate the ownership of the NFT and your character, being having purely cosmetic kind of attributes. There's no kind of pay to win. There's none of that gives you an advantage. So fully appreciating that people who invest in our NFT are rewarded with like other utility, like River highlighted, but also that they look fantastic. So that's there right off the bat. As well as this kind of like initial Genesis collection, then we've also going to be launching with a kind of slightly more, I guess, don't want to say vanilla, but kind of a lot more standard free-to-play assets. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. Games like these kind of like, large-scale multiplayer online games, you need, particularly when it's, you're global and you're across, eventually multiple platforms, you need to have those servers filled very rapidly. So we want to invite and include and be as inclusive and accessible as possible with a free-to-play character. So we really want to open it up to the masses right off the bat, rather than trying to assume that there's going to be a huge, large community that will sustain what we're doing. And then what I'm hoping personally, maybe kind of River can kind of add to this, but I'm hoping, and what I see as the kind of potential of what we're doing is then kind of like cross-pollinating for both sides, and really, there shouldn't be any blurring the lines between Web 3 and the Web 2 experience. Some people use the phrase Web 2.5, but making games in Web 2, people don't refer to it as Web 2. They're just making video games. And at the end of the day, whether it's got blockchain functionality or not, the more we can do to kind of make that frictionless, to kind of hide that where possible, then we're still just making a video game. And maybe it's better in some ways if you own the NFT, you get more involved, immersed in it, greater rewards, of course, depending on what you want to do with your PFPs, whether that's, from a commercial point of view or from a kind of like land ownership point of view as part of your clan, whatever that might be, will add to the experience. But yeah, trying to blur those lines as much as possible and allow for kind of two-way cross-pollination.
Yeah, so just to add to that as well, around like attracting the mass market, that's the only way we can build a sustainable business. We don't see ourselves as a game. We don't see ourselves as an NFT project. We see ourselves as a company, right? And company needs a healthy amount of users coming in and essentially, regularly spending kind of their kind of their capital and feeling, they've got something positive back for that, whether that's just an emotional experience. So, we've spent a lot of time just kind of thinking about, very kind of boring but standard kind of stuff around, for example, acquiring users through, advertising, pay-per-click, etc. These are exactly how, mobile games have kind of scaled over the last kind of 10 years. Mobile gaming, it's kind of changed to this kind of a free to play kind of market. Even console gaming now has changed to this kind of free to play kind of market. And we see Web3 being very, very similar in that regard as well. And, so the monetization strategies, etc., that we're implementing are very, very similar to the free to play games out there. Not many people realize it, but Fortnite makes about $5.8 billion in revenue a year through just being a free-to-play game, right? Selling skins and selling, event driven content such as season passes, etc. Julian, our COO, he actually has spent 7 years at Vungle. They're one of the biggest kind of gaming companies you'll never have heard of. If you played a video game, if you played a mobile game in the past and you've seen, the ads that happen in between the mobile games, in between levels, basically, there's a 50% chance that was Julian serving you that advert. He's basically worked with, hundreds of gaming companies including like Supercell and King, helping them essentially, scale their games from a couple thousand users to a couple million users, and generate what's called like ROI positive, or deploy ROI positive kind of capital for advertising purposes, etc. So that's kind of like our approach overall, right? It's one, creating a fun kind of game that attracts the masses. Ensuring the onboarding process is very, very easy, which basically means, having free to play NFTs and kind of cheaper value NFTs, and then your very kind of high end premium kind of NFTs. And then, working with essentially, some of the best kind of like advertising kind of models on, and companies on the planet to be able to kind of acquire users and scale. There will be other things as well around engaging with KOLs, hosting esports tournaments, getting very, very kind of well-known streamers to kind of, play the game, talk about it, beta test it, etc. And you need this kind of a combination of approach to kind of, be successful, right? And not to forget our existing and early kind of back community as well. Utilizing them in the right ways as a stepping stone to the mass market. Not wanting to forget them. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, Ryan. And feel free to dig deeper around, user acquisition, monetization, if you want. I think that's something that Web3 games don't talk enough about. And that's something that's super, super important.
Yeah, no, I love that answer from both of you. So I appreciate you digging deep, and very may well dig deeper in there. But I kind of want to get back to the game a little bit itself, just because again I'm a big gamer and it looks fun. So maybe kind of give us a little bit of insight on when are we going to be able to play it? Like when's the open beta? When's launch? Things like that. Like how far away are we from participating in Smashverse?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's probably going to be sooner than maybe people think, or people are kind of used in this space, which is that we're working towards our kind of vertical slice pre-alpha due in early next year in Q1. And then particularly, how we want to work really closely with the community and through, live experience of just the large scale effort of running a battle royale game and all the different permutations of the modes. Then probably towards summertime, then a kind of full beta with the game modes, with the kind of close 1v1 2v2, but also the battle royale. So yeah, definitely Q1 for a kind of small core experience, and then building it out again very publicly throughout next year.
And then in terms of, obviously the playability, are you guys hoping to or planning on doing a mint before this game is fully out? Or is that coming, around the launch time? When will these be minting?
Yeah. So for us, Ryan, plan is around about end of November, early December. So it's about 4 months basically before we release the kind of, pre-alpha version of the game. So it's, 4 months, we felt it was quite a reasonable amount of time. People will have access to the social NFT functionality a lot sooner. There's going to be a bit of a game that we make people kind of go through, a bit of a process we make people go through in terms of getting access to their social NFT. But, that'll be something we'll be releasing for, early minters, on the day of launch and, procedurally after launch as well. Including that, we have partnered up with, I'm sharing some insider, some alpha here. We have partnered up with like Hologram. For those of you who kind of know the team over there, so they essentially allow you to kind of like, convert your NFT or your PFP into essentially like damn it, I always struggle to find their Twitter. I'll find it later. But I'm sure the Hologram guys. They're the ones where you can essentially convert an asset that essentially talks on, as like an NFT avatar that you can kind of use on YouTube or on Twitch or even like on Google Meet, etc. So we'll be launching that for holders to kind of use whenever they want. We'll also be actually giving people the 3D assets themselves as well. So, these game ready assets, etc. You'll be getting them well before the game actually launches. So if you ever wanted to, you can take it into Webverse or Otherdeed, if that comes out before us, or VR chat if anyone plays that, etc. as well. So we've kind of thought long and hard around like several different points of utility and value for essentially, early kind of holders between essentially like the mint and the alpha launching in March.
I love the understanding of doing that, because I do feel like, some projects, I've done early, there's a game, I won't name the game, that minted about a year and a half ago at this point. Hey, the game's still not out yet, and I have like a ton of assets from it. And so like it's one of those things where it's like, they were very really transparent, and games can sometimes be transparent about it, but it doesn't help the fact that, hey, this game's coming out a little later than when we are selling it. Which brings me to kind of my next question, and I think, these kinds of questions are going to become more and more important as we go on, especially after everything we've seen this week in crypto, just trust in things like that. But can you explain a little bit to us about your all's funding, and like who's backing Smashverse as a company, and kind of, who's funding that? Because, sometimes these projects will mint really early before their release, and it feels like we're a GoFundMe sometimes for games and projects on the blockchain. And the mint happens early because of those kinds of things. Can you kind of explain to us a little bit more about how this isn't the case here, and kind of maybe lend us a little trust, to trusting to mint you guys, and still look forward to the game coming out, as you guys said, Q1.
Yeah, Ryan. And it's a good and important question, and I'm glad more people are kind of starting to ask that. And so we haven't revealed our backers very deliberately, just because we want to kind of do that at the right time, just for kind of marketing purposes, etc. Generate a bit more hype and kind of like engagement, to do with the project. We don't have a set date for when we will reveal. It's just there's a few more kind of things that we want to. There's a few more kind of things we want to do, not related to like further NFTs or anything like that, right? Before we kind of reveal who it is. But hopefully you can kind of tell, like, we've been working on Smashverse for 13 months. Hope you can see, based on like the art, the production value of the PFPs, the game already so far as well. Some of the experienced people that we have on the team. We're backed by pretty credible people, and we've already spent a significant amount of kind of capital before we've come to the market and said, hey, look, market, buy our NFTs. There's not been that many teams that have essentially spent 13 months getting their heads down, building essentially 15K PFPs, 3D game ready assets, and only being 4 months away from the game. And also having this kind of like, social NFT technology alongside of it. We feel like we're coming to the market with quite a lot, compared to a lot of, many other teams that have minted out even recently, as well, but naturally we're a different product, we're a different kind of, vision compared to some of these other projects as well. As your question around, or your statement around, like, are we just like a Kickstarter for, for games? And being quite frank, right? It's both, so there is, one aspect of, we've spent a lot of time and energy building Smashverse. Hopefully you can see the kind of commitment and the effort and the quality we've put in. But I would be lying if I said, oh, by the way, we're just doing the NFT sale for the sake of doing the NFT sale, right? There's obviously a capital that, capital raise that we want to kind of achieve with that. That capital raise isn't to kind of take a payout, go to the Bahamas and party with Caroline and Sam. The capital raise, whilst it's not going to be a huge amount, it'll essentially go towards game development, community growth, those kind of things, so it's not, I completely understand like your your kind of like grievances with like previous projects, etc. I've been on the bad side of being the Kickstarter guy as well, funding teams who I thought were probably a bit more developed than they actually were. Or I just kind of hyped in and FOMO'd in, etc. So that's kind of, hopefully that kind of answers and my apologies for not kind of going into detail about who's backing us, etc. We just want to announce it at the right time, but hopefully the work, the quality, etc. all speaks for itself.
Can I give you two names and you tell us, just confirm that it's not them?
Yeah.
FTX 5.
It's definitely not that. No.
Okay. No harm, no foul, as long as it's not those two.
yeah. I've been calling it Sam for about a year, man. I was ridiculed so much. Do you know Autism Capital, the Twitter account?
Yeah.
Oh man, like he had such a hard on for fucking SBF. And I kept giving him shit for it. I was like, how are you assuming this guy is so altruistic when you look at 30 projects on Sol that have launched in the last 3 months and they have the exact same chart, which is just they dump, right? Like very clearly Alameda and FTX are in on this. All 30 also, by the way, have FTX or Alameda as investors or market makers for the project. Like there's no altruism here. Stop, seeing this guy as like, Jesus reincarnate or Kobe 2.0. He's not. And I used to get crapped on by him so much, man. He used to just insult me all the time. And now look at us. But yeah, sorry, I could go to rant about Sam all freaking day long.
No, I'm
sure many of us could actually. I'm sure many of us could.
I know some specific people here that could probably do it more than us, but I just little joke there. Well, awesome. We always have guest questions open. I'm not seeing any guest questions, but I want to make sure that I do you guys justice and give you guys kind of the floor to maybe talk about something about the game that we haven't discussed yet. So I want to do that, and then also give you guys the kind of the end here to kind of pitch. Do a last second pitch on why people should care about Smashverse. So I'll give you guys the opportunity to kind of fulfill both of those if you guys want.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll let Jack do the game side. I'm going to do more like Web3 crypto kind of side of stuff. And like I'm showing some cards here, guys, right? And I've been a member of MBHQ since Jan as well. Not as active after the summer after getting wrecked on ENS. But I've been keeping my eyes obviously in kind of like the ecosystem for, as a trader and as a person that works here as well, right? I completely understand that we are not the most FOMO-y project out there compared to so many others that, Valhalla, KPR, etc. They've done a really good job in marketing, branding, and kind of generating that hype. We're trying to build a real business. We want to build a business that's profitable and that can grow and scale and essentially, become essentially, the EA of Web3 or, the new EA, right? That's our kind of like goal where, we see this as a 10-year journey, not as a 10-minute journey or a 1 month kind of, journey, which is why we've been so deliberate and so methodical around art production, game development, the social NFTs, etc. Whilst we are obviously working on, increasing our marketing efforts, etc., and kind of, being a bit more kind of like out there, so people can see what we're up to. Hence why having these Twitter space, having these Discord sessions as well. But like, yeah, I would kind of see us very much as like that type of team, right? I want to just, I don't want to change and be like the FOMO project. I just want to be what Smashverse is and what we are, which is basically game developers and entrepreneurs. And, I want to build a profitable business and I want to do stuff that essentially, allows the business to scale. And, and Smashverse is that journey that we're kind of on. So yeah, so that's kind of like statement I wanted to make. There's no kind of call to action there, right? Like it's more just around like FYI, right? We're a different type of team. We're a different type of project. Crypto spent, I think, a little bit too much. And it's not a knock on the industry, right? I've done the same thing, which is follow the hype and follow the where the excitement is. And sometimes it pays, sometimes it doesn't. Our main focus is just be a good sustainable business. It might be boring, but brings results for basically, our kind of NFT holders and kind of our kind of like equity holders as well, right? That's how we see this as a journey. So yeah, that's my little spiel there. I'll let Jack kind of talk a little bit more about other parts of Smashverse or that may have not covered already.
Yeah, sure. And I just want to kind of echo some of the kind of like comments that like River made, which is that being very deliberate, and kind of like working through a really strong process. Yeah, it may not kind of like yield the kind of like most immediate kind of like hype, friendly, sexy results, but it's more about long-term sustainability, and that's not just with the game development and taking time to build something. It'd be very easy and quick to kind of to knock out a kind of cheap demo within a few months, or rush something out in time for the minute, and we're absolutely not doing that because we're committed to this for the long term. But that also extends to the team and the people behind it, to hire good people, to hire great people, to build a kind of like crack squad of industry veterans and kind of like really talented more junior members. Just literally takes time. So hopefully that's going to give people like yourselves and the rest of the wider Web3 community like confidence that we're absolutely in this for the long haul. I think from a pure kind of game design point of view, I think the combination of experience that we have is enabling us to kind of like pull, almost kind of like cherry pick in a very exciting kind of way some of the what's great about so many of these games that we love. Some very new, some very old, some kind of like fresh franchises, others that have kind of been around since from when almost when we were born, and bringing them together in a way that is super cool. I think when you start layering on some of the technology, then like some of the social NFTs and as a kind of platform, and some of the other things that we've got planned as the game grows, then it's like a kind of it's a totally unique and unusual project and game experience. Even from a kind of Web2 perspective. So like I couldn't be more excited about where we're going to take this, and of course ensuring that the community's on board and fully integrated and kind of like immersed in the game world and the platform and Smashverse as a whole.
Gentlemen, I love that a lot. Again, one of my favorite things to hear from a project is conviction. I interview and talk to projects all the time, and it's one thing to talk to a project that's got a really cool project, but they're kind of just bland and bored about it, and it seems like you guys are very passionate about making this thing happen. So I love to hear creators and people speak with conviction. So thank you for that. Not seeing any questions in the question chat still. So we'll go ahead and end things and wrap things up. So I want to again thank you, River and Jack, both for joining us and talking a little bit more about Smashverse. Guys, if you are interested, you can follow them on Twitter. Maybe even reach out and DM these folks. I don't know, their DMs might be very popular right now, but definitely going to want to get in on this project. It's big time. It looks awesome. I can't wait to play it myself. So again, gentlemen, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for listening. And if you're listening to this later, thank you for listening all the way through. You guys rock. But we'll go ahead and end it there and give everyone the rest of their Friday night back. So again, thanks, gentlemen.
Great, yeah. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Take care, everyone, and have a good weekend.
You as well. Later.